Hi, welcome back to Geology. So glad you're joining. I am today going to kind of go over what notes are going to look like virtually in this class. So today's assignment includes a PowerPoint that we're watching right now, as well as a video, and then an assignment where you're going to be going outside and observing different types of materials in the four spheres that we're just about to talk about. So let me kind of address notes for this class, because normally if we were sitting in class, I would clearly make you get out a sheet of paper and write them down. I would like you to continue to do that while we are virtual, so that you feel that you have something that could help you during a quiz, a test, a project, whatever it may be, so that you don't have to keep going back to all these different PowerPoints and everything, because they're going to start adding up as we kind of move through. So once again, I think it's a great idea to get a binder, maybe some tabs, and label them, each one of the different units, and then kind of keep that together just to keep organized through this process. So always a good tool. So with my notes, sometimes they are ones that are pretty short, where I will just kind of pinpoint what I want you to write down. And then there are other times where I will ask that you write down what is underlined. So this one here is only about 5 slides. So I don't have a whole lot underlined. I'm just trying to get you to start thinking about these different types of things that make up Earth and geology, and all the different processes that we're going to be talking about as we move through this course. So with further ado, I'd like to talk about the 4 spheres of the Earth. Well, maybe. Now I'd like to. Okay. So the 4 different ones, and we will spend a great deal of time of going through each of the different ones. Actually, there's a whole unit kind of designated to each one of them. The lithosphere is probably the one that we're going to talk about the most. We will include the rock cycle, as well as, you might want to jot down the lithosphere. We'll talk about the rock cycle. We'll talk about minerals that make up rocks, and then we'll get into our plate tectonics, where we will really get into detail about the different types of plates, what kind of pressures are there, and then even getting into more detail about earthquakes and volcanoes. And mountain building too, of course. We don't want to forget those. So different types of processes. So the lithosphere is the actual top crustal layer of the Earth, and then rocks and anything else that kind of include in that, mountains and even the bottom of the ocean, is still part of the lithosphere. The next sphere is the hydrosphere, which is water. We will talk a great deal about oceans. We will talk a great deal about rivers and glaciers, and how they kind of all intercombine just a little bit, and how our oceans are changing ever so slightly as we kind of move through. So we will take a lot of time talking about features of the ocean, and then even features on the floor of the bottom of the ocean, such as trenches, and then also talk about just how rivers can create different types of environments on the Earth, as well as how glaciers are also part of that hydrosphere that can create different types of environments. Biosphere is just our life. So normally that is incorporated in all the other spheres. So there's life in the hydrosphere, there's life on the lithosphere, and then clearly there's life in the atmosphere as well. So life incorporates all 3 of them. And then finally our atmosphere, which is our topmost layer, that is from the lithosphere all the way up into space, where we'll talk about where life exists there, and then what are some of the different reactions that are happening as you move up closer and closer and closer to nothingness, I guess you could say, and further away from the Earth. So these are different terms that were used. So lithosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and atmosphere. So once again, real quick picture here. We are looking at the lithosphere is just our rocks. So we'll talk about sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic rocks. We'll talk about minerals. There's 2 groups of minerals that we will incorporate into this class. And then hopefully when we get a chance to get back together. I'm trying to save soil for the end because there's a lot of fun things that we do with soil where we get to go outside and then make samples and all kinds of other things. So soil is just broken down rocks and minerals. And then lots of times students don't even think about it, that soil is hardy in minerals, and then minerals are found in the food that you eat. So technically there is a process where you are eating rocks just that have been broken down and dissolved into smaller and smaller particles and elements. We will spend a great deal of time very soon talking about the different layers. I like to call these the baby layers of the earth, meaning the baby terms, the ones that you probably remember from middle school, maybe even elementary school: crust, mantle, inner and outer core. We're going to kick those out of the way here and start talking about the chemical layers, meaning there's two different types of things that are happening with the crust. There are several different things happening with our mantle, and then even more different types of actions that are happening with the outer and inner core. So we're really going to take a more in-depth look at these layers as opposed to the terms that you've heard before. So you can use these for now. Within about a week, I'm going to say, nope, those are baby terms. Don't use them anymore. We're going to use the big kid terms, which I'll introduce to you. Biosphere, once again, everything that is living, that's pretty much the idea here. So, and supports life. So this is our abiotic and our biotic factors that can be a part of the biosphere. And then our atmosphere is just the gases that surround the atmosphere. So our oxygen, our CO2, our nitrogen, our methane, those types of things that make up the environment or the atmosphere are actually really, really significant about what's happening here on Earth. So you've probably heard the term climatic change or global warming. Whatever you want to call it, that is due to the increase of greenhouse gases that are something like our nitrogen, methane, and stuff, causing the atmosphere to act a little bit differently, which then causes things to change on our lithosphere and our hydrosphere and our biosphere. And so we can actually look back in rock history and see what happens when the earth gets too hot and when the earth gets too cold. So you're probably thinking like, oh, dinosaur extinction. That would be great. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. And we'll even get into, there's actually way more extinctions than just the dinosaurs. It's just that one always gets the biggest props because you killed off a big T-Rex. But we'll talk about other types of extinctions that have happened even more recently, and what are some things that we know of right now. There are animals going extinct right now. Are we in a mini clip of one of these big geologic changes? Who knows? And then, so once again, kind of bringing it all together is our hydrosphere, rainwater, blah, blah. You can kind of read this right here. Rain, hydrosphere falls into the soil. And then that is our lithosphere, which causes grass to grow, which then feeds our biosphere. And the cow eats the grass and breathes out carbon dioxide and goes to the atmosphere. So it's all connected in some way, shape, or form. And that's my goal this year, is to make you understand the idea. If something goes wrong in the lithosphere, there's more than likely a chain reaction that's going to happen in the hydrosphere and the atmosphere. Same with if there's something wrong with the oceans, and we've had this actually come up quite a bit within even our lifetime, is there's things that are changing in the oceans, causing more hurricanes to come through, stronger hurricanes to come through. What is that a process of? It's connected to something that's happening in the atmosphere. And if we have more hurricanes, that's causing destruction in the lithosphere. So there's this whole chain of reactions that can kind of occur with. So those are just the four spheres. We will hear those terms quite a bit as we move through and really get in depth talking about them. Once again, we'll probably talk about the lithosphere and the hydrosphere, I feel like, the most. But we will definitely at the end of the year get to our biosphere and our atmosphere. So hope this was helpful, and please reach out if you have any questions. Bye.